Welcome to episode 2 in my series ranking female assassin films. In this episode, we're going to acknowledge the undisputed king and queen of female assassin films. Yes, there's data to back this up, and it's not even complicated. They deserve to be acknowledged for their contribution to this particular subgenre, so let's just get into it. We're starting off with the king of female assassin films, but before we get into that, there's a little bit of history we need to know first. The female assassin subgenre did not begin in the West. Japanese cinema was exploring the archetype decades before Hollywood took notice, with films like 1970's Onajigoku Uta Shakuhachi Benten, also known as Woman Hellsong, as well as 1973's Shuriyuki Hime, known internationally as Lady Snowblood. These films were building the foundation of this subgenre long before Western cinema caught up. Lady Snowblood, in particular, has been cited by Quentin Tarantino as one of the defining films of the genre and a direct inspiration for Kill Bill. And in English language cinema, 1974's made for TV movie Hit Lady, written by and starring Yvette Mimieux, along with 1985's award season favorite Prizzi's Honor, were staking their own claims years before a certain French writer, director, and producer entered the conversation. When Luc Besson decided to make the film Nikita, what he did was something different. He didn't invent the female assassin film, he redefined it for a global audience, and in doing so, he became the single most influential filmmaker the subgenre has ever seen. In February of 1990, Besson released Nikita in France. When the film was distributed internationally and reached English-speaking audiences in 1991, it was retitled La Femme Nikita for that market. That name has become the more common name. This project calls it Nikita, the title Besson gave it, in the language he made it in, out of respect for the film, its director, and the country it came from. Nikita is the film that changed everything in the modern era of this subgenre. Besson wrote, directed, and produced it, and the template he built, a woman recruited by a covert agency, forged into a weapon through specialized training, and ultimately consumed by the double life she's forced to live, became the blueprint that dozens of female assassin films since have drawn from, consciously or not. And Paralot's performance as Nikita set a standard for the archetype that very few have matched. Nikita is Besson's foundation, but it isn't his only contribution to the subgenre. 2 years after Nikita's international release, Hollywood produced Point of No Return in 1993, a direct remake with Bridget Fonda in the lead. Besson shared a writing credit as story creator along with screenwriters Robert Getchell and Alexandra Saros on the adaptation. While many have called the latter a shot for shot remake of the original, the two films are not interchangeable. The Hollywood version shifts tone, softens certain elements, and makes narrative choices that meaningfully alter the story. They are distinct enough in performance, atmosphere, and emphasis to stand as separate entries in the subgenre, and Besson's authorship connects them both. In 2011, Besson wrote and produced Colombiana, giving Zoe Saldana one of the cleanest female assassin vehicles of the decade. A revenge driven contract killer trained from childhood, working her way methodically toward a single target. In all honesty, this film shares many elements with Besson's highly acclaimed Leon the Professional, except where Matilda was saved by Leon without ever having to kill anyone. Saldana's Catalea becomes a full-fledged female assassin with the help of her Tio, Marco. This film is unambiguous in its genre identity, and Saldana carries it completely. Then, in 2019, Besson returned to write, direct, and produce Anna, a deliberate return to the world of Nikita with Sasha Luss playing a woman embedded inside an intelligence organization, navigating competing loyalties while trying to survive the life she's been assigned to. The structural echoes of his 1990 film are intentional. It is a fully qualifying female assassin film, and it closes out his work in the subgenre on his own terms. Beyond those four qualifying entries, Besson built a broader body of work around dangerous, capable women, including the 1997 sci-fi classic The Fifth Element, which gave us both Mila Jovovich as Lilu and The Element of Love. Then, in 1999, Besson again teamed up with Jovovich for one of his passion projects, The Messenger, the story of Joan of Arc. Then, in 2014, Besson found a new muse in Scarlett Johansson for the smash sci-fi action hit Lucy. None of those meet the criteria for this subgenre, and I know some people will disagree about Lucy, but Lucy is a character who becomes superhuman, then goes on a mission to create a supercomputer to save humanity, and she removes anyone who stands in her way in a very brutal and effective way. Lilu is an advanced being sci-fi warrior, Joan of Arc is a historical soldier saint, and Lucy is an evolving superhuman. None are trained assassins on targeted killing missions. One of the most interesting films Besson made after Nikita is the 1994 assassin film which he wrote, directed, and produced, Leon the Professional. The very film which introduced Natalie Portman to the world as Matilda and gave us Jean Reno as Leon, a callback to Reno's character Victor the Cleaner from Nikita. While this film does not meet the criteria necessary to be a female assassin film, it definitely deserves mention in the overall assassin film subgenre. And while some people will disagree, I would argue that Matilda never actually kills anyone, and Leon pretty much works to prevent her from actually having to do that. All of the aforementioned movies reveal something consistent in Besson's instincts as a filmmaker. He is drawn to women who are lethal, self sufficient, and operating beyond ordinary limits. That instinct is what makes his assassin films as effective as they are. So now let's look at the count. 4 films, 4 full qualifiers: Nikita, Point of No Return, Colombiana, and Anna. All 4 as writing credits for Besson, 3 as producer, and 2 as director. 9 total credits out of 4 films. No other filmmaker comes close to that number with that level of consistency across this specific subgenre. As I said earlier, Luc Besson didn't create the female assassin film. The subgenre existed before him, and it will continue long after. What he did was bring it to a global audience, give it a modern vocabulary, and demonstrate repeatedly across decades that a film built around a trained female killer could be intelligent, stylish, emotionally complex, and commercially viable. While the queen of the female assassin films is its greatest on-screen embodiment, the modern version of this subgenre runs through its king, Luc Besson, and that's not likely to change anytime soon. Luc Besson is the undisputed king of the female assassin film. If Luc Besson is the king of the female assassin film for writing, directing, and producing many of its most defining entries, then Angelina Jolie is its queen. Not because of popularity, but because of impact, consistency, and the lasting weight of her work within the subgenre. While plenty of actresses have played assassins, killers, or spies, Jolie kept coming back to the role, and in doing so, she shaped the modern image of the female assassin more than anyone else on screen. Most actresses are lucky to land one iconic female assassin role. Jolie has 3: Mr. and Mrs. Smith from 2005, Wanted from 2008, and Salt from 2010. In Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Jane Smith isn't a spy or vigilante. She's a professional contract killer, and the entire film depends on that. Their marriage works because both characters are elite assassins hiding their identities from each other. Strip out the assassination premise, and the story collapses. The film blends assassin fiction, action, romance, comedy, and domestic drama without ever losing the assassin narrative at its core. Now, the ending may be questionable, but Jane Smith remains one of the most recognizable female assassins ever put on screen. In 2008's Wanted, Jolie plays Fox, a veteran assassin and senior member of a secret killing organization. Her entire identity is built around the craft. Trained, emotionally controlled, lethal at range and in close quarters, and defined by duty over self-preservation. She isn't the lead, but she owns every scene she's in. Many audiences remember Fox more clearly than the protagonist whose story they were watching. And if Mr. and Mrs. Smith established Jolie at the top of the genre, Salt locked it in. Evelyn Salt may be the most complete female assassin character in mainstream Hollywood history, not because she's the most physical, but because the film emphasizes what separates real assassin fiction from standard action fare: tradecraft, planning, disguise, improvisation, and psychological manipulation. Salt thinks her way through situations as much as she fights her way out of them. That puts her in a different class than most modern action heroines. There's a reason why Jolie stands above the competition. The genre has no shortage of strong entries. Anne Parelot helped define it in Nikita. Zoe Saldana elevated Colombiana. Scarlett Johansson built a franchise around Black Widow. Charlize Theron made noise with Aeon Flux. And Jennifer Garner became synonymous with trained assassins, starring in 2 qualifying films, Elektra and Peppermint. Each of them has a legitimate claim on a piece of this subgenre, and each of them has made their name in other action-heavy movies. So has Angelina. She's been a cyborg, a hacker, a car thief, a Tomb Raider, commander of the Royal Navy Flying Mobile Airstrip, Alexander the Great's mother, Grendel's mother, leader of the Furious Five, a heroic and misunderstood Disney villain, a forced firefighter, and a Marvel superhero. Moreover, Jolie has won a Golden Globe for Gia and an Oscar for Girl Interrupted. None of the other contenders combine multiple iconic assassin roles, mainstream cultural impact, consistent box office success, and decades of staying power the way Jolie does. That combination is singular. The female assassin archetype demands a specific convergence of qualities: intelligence, physicality, confidence, mystery, danger, and charisma. Most actresses can project 1 or 2 convincingly. Jolie projects them all at once. The moment she enters a frame, audiences already understand she's capable of violence, deception, and control. That quality isn't manufactured through editing or choreography. It's presence. And presence is the assassin archetype's most essential ingredient. Luc Besson helped create and define the female assassin film. Angelina Jolie became its most recognized and successful on-screen embodiment. Through Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Wanted, and Salt, she built a body of work within this subgenre that no other actress has yet matched. 3 defining entries, delivered while simultaneously establishing herself as one of the most bankable female action stars in Hollywood history. Other actresses may have had 1 great female assassin film. Some may have 2. Jolie has 3, all iconic roles in hit films. Angelina Jolie is the queen of the female assassin film. So, there you have it. You can try to dispute it, but the data does not lie. For the next entry in this series, we will start with my rankings of 5 female assassin films, starting with some I've already discussed, showing where they currently rank out of the 45 films I've watched so far. If you wish to revisit the definitions and criteria for the films, the research and scoring for the films, or the database where I'm ranking all of the films, I will provide links to each of those in the description section of episode 3. Thank you for watching.